The House will come to order. All members, please take their seats. All guests, please clear the aisle. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All members record their presence by pressing the green button. All members here, please record your attendance. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 56 members present. We have a quorum. All rise for the invocation to be given to us by Chairwoman Deb Ruggiero.
Thank you, Speaker. Dear Lord, grant that all our representatives find a way to trust and respect each other's opinions and point of views. May we always believe that by uniting our energies and resources, we can accomplish great things for all of those who call Rhode Island home. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chairwoman. Next order of business is the approval of the journal. Is there any objection to the approval of the journal of the previous legislative day? Hearing none, so ordered. Communications are up next. Clerk, do we have any communications? If so, please read and place on file.
Representative Marsha Ranglin-Vassell is unable to attend session today, Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. Representative Camille Vella Wilkinson is unable to attend session today, Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. Representative Grace Diaz is unable to attend session today, Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. And Representative James N. McLaughlin is unable to attend session today, Tuesday, May 4th, 2021.
Thank you. Committee reports. Are there any committee reports? There are none. Is there any new business? Representative Morales with new business. Chairman McNamara with new business. Representative Constantino with new business. Any other new business? Please raise your hand or raise the bill. We can come back to new business if we have to. The next order of business is today's calendar. Clerk, please read the first item on today's calendar.
Item number 1, number 5012, sub A.
Chairman Abney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Item number 5012, sub A, by Representative Slater. This act mandates minimum staffing levels at nursing homes, provides a grant program for enhanced training for staff, provides additional funding for nursing homes, and provides for wage increases for direct care workers. The committee heard extensive testimony on this bill, including support from the Attorney General, who cited Rhode Island as one of only a handful of states without a nursing home staffing standard, the Senior Agenda Coalition, unions, workers, and patient advocates. This committee also heard concerns from the nursing home industry, citing financial strains on the industry. Sub A addresses those concerns by pushing back the implementation date, reducing the mandate, determining compliance based on a quarterly average instead of more frequently, adding several categories of workers that can be counted toward the mandate, reducing the percentage that goes toward pay raises, and including additional funding for nursing homes over the next 3 years. This is a good bill that balances the needs of patients, staff, and nursing home industry. I move passage, and at the appropriate time, I have an amendment.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Abney moves passage, seconded by Chairman Bennett, Floor Manager Edwards, Representative Slater, Representative Tanzi, Chairman Corvese, Representative Kazar, Representative Cortravan, Chairwoman Ruggiero, Representative McEntee, Representative Morales, Representative Perez, Representative Amore, Representative Speakman, Representative Dunman, Leader Blazajewski, Representative Bia, Chairwoman Fogarty, Representative Kislak, Representative Potter, Representative Barrows, Representative Alzate, Representative Felix, Representative Messier, Representative Agello, Representative Batista, and Representative Handy. Chairman Hull, are you seconding? Also, Chairman Hull seconding. Chairwoman Williams seconding. Representative Casimiro seconding. Chairman Craven seconding also, as well as Representative Falella. Any other seconds? Whip Kazarian also seconding. Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have an amendment? The bill is properly before us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment is LC 000-599/4.
And you move the amendment?
Yes.
Chairman?
It makes technical corrections, reduces the portion of the minimum mandate that must be provided by CNAs, clarifies the discretion of the department to waive or reduce penalties, and further increases the funding for nursing homes that was added in Sub A. I move passage.
Thank you. Chairman Abney moves passage of the amendment. Seconded by Leader Blazajewski. Representative Speakman, Representative Bia, Chairman Craven, Chairwoman Ruggiero, Representative Donovan, Representative Morales, Chairman Shanley, Chairwoman McEntee, Representative Kazar, Chairman Corvese, Representative Amore, Representative Perez, Representative Williams, Floor Manager Edwards, Representative Slater, Chairman McNamara, Representative Cortravan, Representative Cardillo, Chairman Hull, Representative Agello, Representative Giraldo, Representative Felix, Whip Kazarian, Representative Barrows, Representative Messier. Thank you. The bill, we need to unlock, there are no lights, unlock the machine on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please vote green. If you're not in favor of the amendment, please vote red. I believe everyone's unlocked. Please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 58 in the affirmative. The amendment prevails. Back on the bill as amended. Are there any lights on the bill? Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, Speaker. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself from the vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Please send it up, the recusal, and I'll execute it. Thank you. Representative Fenton Fung. And then I'll go to Representative Place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to move amendment LC 000-599-3.
Just a moment. Representative Fenton Fung moves amendment LC 00599/3, seconded by Whip Chippendale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So While I do not currently work in a nursing home, I have for many, many years over the past decade helped out while they've been short-staffed, including at the height of the pandemic. I am one of the, as a physical therapist, one of the different categories that qualifies as a direct service provider. Well, I'm sure this was unintentional. Sometimes we don't know what different therapies offer people, especially in a skilled nursing facility. There was one group that was left off as a direct service provider that I'd like to move an amendment to include them. This amendment adds the language as far as adding a category of direct service provider as a certified recreation therapist. Most people don't know what this field is. They actually have more education than almost everybody in this direct service provider list. They all have bachelor's degrees. They've all completed clinical assignments of over 560 hours, and they're all nationally certified. As we see over the next 10 years, we're going to have a lot of people in skilled nursing facilities with more complicated mental health issues, especially as we consider things like the Eleanor Slater debacle and whatnot, and how we're going to move this forward over the next 10 years. Certified recreation therapists are so essential in locked dementia units and in different settings where you're going to have more people with schizophrenia and other unfortunate disorders that we see a lot of times in skilled nursing facilities. They are highly valued members of our community in the skilled nursing facilities. They'll do things like take a patient with a traumatic brain injury on a ride on RIPTA and teach them how to get home without getting lost or how to make correct change. They'll take patients with a TBI out swimming, out horseback riding. This is huge when it comes to quality of life. So I introduced this amendment today to recognize their wonderful work and ask you to consider them to be part of a direct service provider in the nursing home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative. Representative Place, is your light lit? Not on this, okay. Representative Casey, is your light, you wanted to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Speaker. Not on the amendment, but I would like to be recording the affirmative on the first amendment.
So ordered. We can do all that after this, so I just kind of limit everything. Floor Manager Edwards, please.
Thank you, Speaker, members of the House. I rise in opposition to this amendment. Adding recreational therapists would only dilute the intentions of this bill. These therapists are not licensed, and we are trying to make sure that all of the people who are in direct contact with our seniors are licensed. People like registered nurses, med techs, licensed LPNs. We have licensed physical therapists and licensed speech and therapy. We do not need to water this bill down. We need to make sure that everyone who is in direct contact, providing direct services to our seniors, is a licensed individual, not someone who is certified. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. There are no other lights?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to rebut that for a moment, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Just in the future, no problem.
Okay.
But in the future, I can't see that well, so just hit your button and I'll recognize you. But please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will concede the point that in this state, we do not license recreation therapists as we do in other states. For some reason, we are one of the ones that do not. Make it fine, and that's easier. However, they are going to be the ones in locked dementia units that are treating, and they do treat the patient more than any other therapist will. If you do not count them towards those hours, you are going to put, I can see the forthcoming thing, of different nursing facilities putting pressure on other therapies to go beyond their scope of care so that they will have enough hours. These people are fantastic. They are certified in the state. They are not licensed. But they do provide almost the care that you want your grandmother and your mother to receive in a nursing home. And while if it won't pass today, believe me, you'll see this again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Lita Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. And rise in opposition to this amendment. I just want to highlight that there's nothing stopping nursing home facilities from providing certified recreation therapists if it's necessary. But what's important is that we don't dilute, as Floor Manager Edwards says, we don't dilute and water down the direct service care standards that we're putting in this legislation. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I urge defeat of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fenton Fung for the third time.
Yep, and this will be the final one, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mr. Majority Leader, I understand that you'll use words like dilute in the future. I think that I'd love to take some members here on a tour of a skilled nursing facility. The only thing that recreation therapists do is add to the care of these grandparents, the care to our parents. These, just because they are not licensed in this state, I will concede that point. However, they do not watered down care. In fact, they'll only provide it. Recreation therapists typically make $50,000 or $60,000. I can foresee in the future, if they were not to count towards these hours, nursing homes would be less inclined to employ them because they're going to have to meet this standard and they're going to go around it. That would only detriment the care that your grandmother, grandfather, parents receive. So I respectfully disagree, but I appreciate it, and I hope in the future I can take you on a tour. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other lights on the amendment. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative vote green. All those in the negative, please vote red. Please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 13 in the affirmative, 45 in the negative. The amendment fails. Back on the bill as amended. Representative Place.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move an amendment, if I may.
Proceed. The LC number, please.
LC 599/2, please.
Representative Place moves LC 00599/2. Seconded by Representative Newberry, Representative Fenton Fung, and Whip Chippendale. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I look through this legislation and I talk to some of my constituents, we see that there's a missing group of facilities in this, and that is the state facilities. There's State Veterans Home, and some would say Zambrano based on who you talk to, whether it's a nursing home or a hospital. It's still yet to be determined in some circles. But what this amendment would do is it would apply the state, this legislation to all state facilities as well, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Are you concluded? Thank you. Representative Slater.
Thank you, Speaker. Representative Place, I'd just like to first of all commend you on all the work you've been doing on the state-run facilities, and I share your concerns with the patients that are over there. This bill is meant to address nursing facilities. I will say Zambrano and Eleanor Slater, if those are the facilities, and the vets, the veterans is controlled by the federal vets, and I would care to say that the staffing levels over there are very good at the veterans, and they have to consult on a regular basis with the federal veterans to make sure the staffing is good. And I want to say that at the vets, there's 135 nursing patients and 165 nurses and CNAs employed. So, and they're not really funded by Medicaid, you know? So the vets is a little bit different. If we go to Zambrano, I mean, with your advocacy around that, I don't think you're advocating for less funding for them. I want to say that we might spend around $500,000 patient at Zambrano. And the staffing levels, there's 75, between Zambrano and there's 75 patients and over 200 workers. I'm not saying all those workers are direct care, but there's still a number of workers. So I think You know, honestly, what we're arguing is apples and oranges. I understand your dedication to those facilities, and I share that work that I'm looking forward to working with you on in the Finance Committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Place for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I understand Representative Slater's view on that. I know I'm speaking to the employees, Labor's 808, the ones that really do this work on a daily basis. And from their standpoint, they just find themselves to be severely understaffed. So again, if it's good for the private sector, I just think we should bring it into the government sector as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. There are no other lights. On the amendment, please, clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative vote green. All those in the negative, please vote red. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 7 in the affirmative, 54 in the negative. The amendment is defeated. Back on the bill as amended. Representative Place.
Mr. Speaker, will the chairman yield for a question?
Certainly.
Or a floor
I
manager?
would actually go to leader, Chairman Abney.
Yes, I was going to properly acquiesce to the sponsor of the bill or the floor leader.
Okay.
To make sure.
Thank you. So procedural question, and either the sponsor will answer it or the leader will answer it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know we do address some of the funding levels within this that will come along with additional staffing. My question goes to, it's on page 10 of the bill, line 17, where it talks about no facility shall lose or gain more than $5 in total per diem rates in the first year of the transition. And I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to be something that would limit our ability to fully fund any commitments we're making inside this legislation.
I will defer to Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question, Representative Place. So that language you're citing there is existing law, and that law relates to a transition that we had in our mechanism for Medicaid reimbursements for nursing homes. That language you cite right there is old law. The time period has already passed. It has no impact on any of the changes we're making to provide additional funding to nursing homes to support the care that the residents need and to support the wages that the workers deserve. So there's nothing in there to worry about in that section. And also, we certainly wouldn't want to be changing the way we do Medicaid reimbursement rates in a bill that's really aimed at nursing home staffing. So for that reason, I think that section is appropriate there because it really doesn't apply to the rest of the bill.
Well, like I said, that just, as I was reading through it, that did pop out at me. So thank you, Leader.
Thank you. On the amended bill, there are no other lights. Clerk, please, I'm sorry. Leader Blazajewski, I'm sorry, I just saw the light. And also, I guess, Representative Barrows, do you have a, no? Okay, clear the board, thank you. Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I rise in strong support of this legislation. Nursing home care is an issue that at one point or another touches nearly everyone. When nursing home care is necessary for a parent, family member, loved one, friend, or for ourselves, we should have access to care that is high quality, affordable, and safe. Nursing home residents, these are seniors and people living with disabilities, need robust staff support and care. And nursing home workers need to earn a living wage in a safe, equitable workplace where they are treated like the heroes that they are. But staffing shortages and low wages, however, ladies and gentlemen, lead to nursing home residents not receiving adequate care and nursing home workers not receiving the respect and dignity they deserve at the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic has made this crisis in our nursing homes even more critical. Today, though, we have before us crucial legislation to alleviate this crisis by setting minimum staffing standards consistent with federal guidelines and supporting a living wage for caregivers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have committed additional funds to our nursing homes to support these changes. $12 million over 3 years, and we have committed to a $10 million COLA in this year alone, which means $22 million in total. And that does not even include potential COLAs increases over the next few years. Ladies and gentlemen, as Chair Abney mentioned, the testimony in support of this bill was compelling. Residents and their advocates described their personal experiences of inadequate services and staffing at nursing homes. Workers conveyed their fierce dedication to caring for residents, but how low wages and scant support made their jobs nearly impossible. And allies from women's rights, healthcare, and domestic violence prevention communities emphasized how improving nursing home care and compensation had broader social impacts of equity and opportunity, especially for women of color in the nursing home workforce. By bringing together and to the table an inclusive coalition of stakeholders, advocates, and community members, we have crafted here today legislation, ladies and gentlemen, that will make Rhode Island a national leader for nursing home residents, a national leader for nursing home workers, and a national leader for nursing home care. For these reasons, Mr. Speaker, I urge support of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I have a bunch of lights. I assume they're on the bill. If they're not on the bill, we'll come back. But if they're on the bill, we'll go to Representative Felix. Then next will be Whip Chippendale next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make sure I want to change my vote from yes to no on the First Amendment, and it will not change the outcome of the vote.
So ordered. Thank you. Whip Chippendale and then Representative Fenton Fung.
Thank you, Speaker. I certainly agree with Leader Blaszczewski's report on how underpaid our underpaid staff is an issue. There's no question about that. We've heard, particularly in House Oversight, while dealing with the various human services issues that we've encountered over the past several years, we've heard repeatedly testimony from the administration itself that while it did not overtly state it, it did lay down the fundamental groundwork that our Medicaid reimbursement rate is anemic when you compare it to our sister states. In fact, to be clear about that and to make sure I was understanding what I was hearing, one of the many former temporary directors of EOHHS, or whatever title he had, Mr. Patrick Teague, or Teague, was before House Oversight, and I asked him that very question, and he did concur that our rates are anemic for Medicaid reimbursement, and that I offered, although it was not within my power to grant the wish, I offered if there was anything the legislature could do to help with that Medicaid reimbursement rate, knowing the answer. And of course, he responded that no, that's completely within the purview of the administration, and they just choose not to. When we look at staffing for CNAs and other comparable positions, there's a very real dynamic in the state of Rhode Island because of our size and because of our neighbors' more generous Medicaid reimbursement, that for a 10 or 15 additional minute drive, someone who's certified as a CNA or similar can simply work in Massachusetts or Connecticut and make precipitously more money. And regrettably, the best talent does exactly that. I think that is something that, while glanced on in the context of this debate, is really at the root of this issue. And if we, as a state, do not take this seriously, we'll continue to unfortunately bear the negative repercussions of that anemic Medicaid reimbursement rate. I think that it would be irresponsible for us not to take that up. I know that that is not what's on the table right now, but I am piggybacking on the leader's comments because they were spot on. We have to address that. These issues will address themselves if we have the courage to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Whip. Representative Fenton Fung and then Representative Place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So when we're talking about this bill, and as someone who helped out at the nursing homes, especially during COVID. I'm so glad to hear everybody here saying we need better staffing, okay? We also need to fund it and fund it consistently. And on top of that, we need to fix UHIP. That debacle continues to plague nursing homes. I know we stopped talking about it a few years ago. It still means that they're getting delays in payments. That still exists every single day. Patients are getting more complicated. Okay, we'll have patients in the nursing home with crazy cardiac arrhythmias that we just live with and we have to deal. These medications cost a lot of money. New blood thinners cost a lot of money. They will be on these the rest of their lives. We cannot just sit there and say, no, we're not going to increase Medicaid reimbursement or we're going to cut it. I was not here during the past few years. Some of you did heroic efforts as far as helping out with the UHIP debacle. When we're looking at the next 5 years, nursing homes need more support. They need to be able to pay for those medications. They need to be able to pay for this staffing. And it's great if we vote yes today, but it's going to be an absolute crime if we vote no tomorrow. And so I just hope that you guys remember all the good wishes that you have today. Think about it when it's really hard during budget time as well, because for all of us who sat there in the middle of the pandemic with not enough PPE and we're sweating through garbage bags because they didn't have enough money to buy the PPE for us. I'm speaking for every single one of them. I was with them for like 6 months at the height of it. Okay? Please don't forget them on the days when it comes to actually pay up for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Place and then Representative Newberry after that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 3 nursing homes in my district, and prior to 2 years ago, 2 of those 3 were closely held family businesses. And as of today, all 3 are just corporate shells. They're, they take care of patients still, but all the money does go out of state. And I know that's one of the arguments a lot of people have in here is that a lot of these nursing homes are just taking the Rhode Island money and shipping them to New Jersey, wherever it may be. The reason why that's happening is because we continue to put additional mandates on these homes, which restricts their ability to run their operations. I can speak of Overlook Nursing Home. I sat down with what was the owner 2 years ago prior to the pandemic, and he said, these patients are like my family. They are, but I just can't do it anymore. All of the restrictions that continue to get placed on top of me, he didn't want to not be able to hire, additional staffing or pay them well. He had to find a fine balance between finding the quality people and also taking care of the patients in terms of their quality of life, whether it be the programs, the field trips, and things like that come into play with making sure these residents have a high quality of life. And all I see happening if we do not, and I understand comments that have been made about this isn't the place to address Medicaid reimbursement rates, which is why I chose not to introduce my amendments, because I had a feeling what was going to happen to them. But you can't separate the 2 issues. We can't tell them to go out and spend more money on staffing but not pay for it. We pay for 70% of all those patients, and they are drastically underfunded. I talked to one person who said that they would need 25% increase in their Medicare, their reimbursement rates. I get the 2 mixed up, Medicaid and Medicare, but they would need a 25% reimbursement in order to actually abide by this new law. And they're going to do everything they can to abide by this. But what's going to suffer is the patient. We care about the patient's quality of life and their safety. Well, there's more to it than just the staff coming in, because the programs matter too. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to oppose this legislation, because I think within my district, these nursing homes found a really good balance. They really did. I visited them. The patients, I mean, no one's always happy, but the patients had a high quality of life. And I just fear all we're going to do is force these homes into moving money around. And at some point, patients are just going to be sitting in their rooms watching TV all day. There'll be no card games because there's going to be no one there to actually sit there and moderate the card games in the common areas, to take them on field trips, because they're not going to be able to afford the bus anymore because they are paying. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to bring in more medical staff, but there is two parts to quality of life within these homes. And I just fear, based on everything that I've seen, the visitation of these homes, talking to both administrators, the staff, and the patients, that this is going to throw that balance way out, and they're going to be hurting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Newberry, and then Representative Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very briefly, I don't want to repeat what others have said. I agree with Whip Chippendale and Representative Place. My father actually lives in a nursing home, and I spend a lot of time these days in nursing homes. In fact, it's one of the ones in Burrillville and Rep Place's district. I think the staff there, from what I can see, do a tremendous job, and they have very difficult jobs, and they are vastly underpaid. I stood in this same spot in December when we did the supplemental budget, and I said, and I'll say it again, I don't like spending taxpayer money, and I don't like spending tax money, I don't like raising taxes. But there's one thing that we should, as a government, spend money on. It's caring for people who can't take care of themselves. Whip Chippendale is correct. One of the problems we have in this state is we underpay people who work in nursing homes and other caregiving facilities. If you live in a border community particularly, it's very difficult to find employees because they can make a lot more money going over the border. It's great to pass this bill, but if we don't fund this, these people aren't going to be able to meet these standards. There's all kinds of penalties, monetary penalties, et cetera, in this bill. If we don't do something to make sure they can actually find employees, I don't know how they're going to comply with this, unless, as Representative Place said, they start cutting lots of other services. So this may sound good. I think it's poor policy to dictate to businesses precisely how many people they must have at a certain time, and that's why I'm going to oppose it. But I do believe we need to find money as a state to pay people and pay enough people to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. I just don't think this bill is the way to do it.
Thank you. Representative Morgan, and then Representative Knight.
Thank you, Speaker. As I look at this legislation, I'm sure nursing homes would like to be able to have more employees helping their residents. The fact of the matter is there's not a whole lot of people out there who really want to do this kind of work. I know from the last year caring for my mother, finding caregivers is very difficult. And for nursing homes, it is doubly difficult because they are so strained for staffing. This bill would penalize them for not being able to get CNAs in here. And if you look at the entirety of what we're doing as a state, we're also raising the minimum wage. Who wants to take care of an elderly person where you have to do some distasteful things for them when you can go to McDonald's and make $15 an hour? If we fund this, then fine. But in the past, 7 years, we have applauded that our Medicaid rates have been cut or held steady because it helped us get through some difficult budgets. What makes us think we won't have difficult budgets in the future? We're doing nothing to really take out the built-in problems that we have that create consistent deficits year after year. Does anybody in this room really think that we're going to make sure that our nursing homes are funded adequately to have the highest staffing ratio in the country? We applauded. We went along with all the Medicaid cuts that happened over the last 6 or 7 years. We applauded the decimation of the home health care industry. And now we're putting in penalties that would be crippling to nursing homes. So when nursing homes close, where will our elderly go? It's the entirety of what we're doing as a state that makes this piece of legislation unworkable. Because we don't work on our chronic deficits, and we raise the minimum wage, and we make it almost impossible for nursing homes to find the good people that they need to care for the elderly. I urge you to vote against this. Nursing homes really do a good job for their elderly people, their residents. They care for them, and they do the best they can with the resources they are given. To put these kinds of restrictions on from the state level makes no sense at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Knight, and then the last light will be Representative Slater. Representative Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, that's not the whole story. Some of them provide decent care, but the economics around nursing home care have changed in Rhode Island and around the country because private equity has found the nursing homes. And in the course of my homework on this bill, what I learned is that there are nursing homes in our state that, in the words of a proponent of this bill, short the floor. They short the floor, which means they understaff the floor, and they have one person covering far too many people on any given shift. Don't think about this bill in the way that my colleagues across the aisle have asked you to, in that it's some sort of draconian restriction delivered from on high to a nursing home industry that is doing just fine, because that's not what it is. Think about it. Gentlemen, is it back? Think about it like I think about it. This is a worker protection bill. This is a bill that gets at a practice of worker exploitation in this industry. Just like we have child labor laws, just like we have minimum staffing, or excuse me, minimum wage, just like we have a 40-hour work week. What we are doing here is telling the nursing home industry there is a floor beyond which you cannot go for this activity. You can use your homes as a loss leader. Dear, private equity, you can use your homes as a loss leader as much as you want if that's what the economics dictate, but you can't do it at the cost of patient care, which is what has been happening and is why this bill is here today. I put a lot of study and effort into this bill, and I can tell you that all the worst case scenarios have been talked about to death, and there are measures in this bill to smooth those sharp edges, right? There's flexibility in how the Department of Health handles violations. There's mechanisms to take nursing homes who are not making the grade and get them there. And yes, the economics of this practice are so complicated, it tells you something when I totally agree with the Republicans that it's time to boost the Medicaid spending to this industry because they've been getting by on less for years, and we got to fix that. So with combined funding, with this bill which sets a floor of care, combined with the reasonable administrative policies that we put in place, my sincere hope and my expectation is that we will raise the level of care in nursing homes across Rhode Island, but particularly those that definitely operate right now at 2.5 hours per patient per day. They are out there, and that if you walk into a nursing home where they're at 2.5 or sometimes even less, it's not a good look. So we can fix that, and it's our duty to fix that for our elders. The nursing home industry is changing because the free market is dictating those changes. We're not here to tell the free market what to do, but we are here to set the guardrails beyond which the free market cannot go, which is what this bill does. I strongly support this bill. If I could vote twice, yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Slater, and then I have another light, Representative Place, after Representative Slater.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. And thank you, Representative Knight, for your great comments. I appreciate it. I appreciate your work on this bill. It was very important, your input. And I know you helped bring this bill along from my original legislation, which I submitted the previous years. First, before I know there's going to be some more comments on the bill, but I was looking to get up here and say thank you to, first of all, to on the Senate side, Senator Mary Ellen Goodwin, who really was, she passed this legislation last year, and then she passed it again this year. The legislation originally that was passed was at 4.1 hours, and that would have went into effect right away. It was 100% of any COLA going to direct care staff. The penalties were a lot stricter. So I guess in the original legislation, you could say some of the worry and concern maybe is justified from my colleagues. But there was a lot of work put into this legislation. I appreciate everyone who reached out to me. I appreciate my colleagues who worked hard with me and brought the concerns of the industry. Now, I mean, does it fully address all their concerns? I'm sure not. But this is a good piece of legislation. And Representative Fenton Fung, she brought up a point about another category, and they're not considered certified in the state, and maybe that's something I can work with you on in the future. I appreciate that olive branch of working on this, and it's not something that's for me, that's something that's gonna end with this legislation. It's something that is extremely personal and important to me, and I appreciate, Representative Morgan, her concerns, and Representative Place, who got up. And maybe the nursing homes in your area are wonderful. Maybe they do a great job. I'm sure they do. I don't think anyone that goes into the industry goes into it with the intention of really not doing a good job. I think most of the employees that are in there want to do amazing work and take care of their employees. But what I found over the last few years, and in particular dealing with my mom when she had to go into facilities at times, was that, she was in an assisted living too. And, the activities were great in the assisted living because she didn't need that level of care. So it was wonderful that she was able to get out and take trips and have that level. But when she was in the nursing home, she needed a much higher level of care. And when she didn't need that level of care, or when Medicare stopped paying, they wanted her out. So my point is that I had to sit with her at times, and the floor was short at the time, and she couldn't get up to go to the bathroom because I couldn't help, because I wasn't a CNA and I couldn't get her up. So to watch your loved one to sit there and not to get at least that minimum standard of care, and honestly, maybe the nursing homes, like I said, are great in your area, but we need to level the playing field throughout the state. And there's some nursing homes that aren't providing that same level of care, and there's some that are providing great care. But we need to even that out, because it's terrible when your loved one has to go into a facility and there's winners and losers that are being picked. We should have a standard, not a mandate, but a standard. And we can work on that in the future, and I'm happy. And I agree with you that rates need to go up. I don't think anyone really celebrated the fact that Medicare that got cut. I don't think anyone was celebrating. I know my years on House Finance, we've always fought to increase the funding from budgets that we received. So we've always fought to restore that funding, and I worked with my colleagues on making sure the COLA was in place, even if it wasn't fully, but we fought for years, and I will continue that fight to fund nursing homes. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Place, which I believe is the last light.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to respond to some of the comments that were made. Excuse me. You're right. These corporate entities have come in here and done exactly what Representative Knight has said they have done. And I recognize that. The problem is we also have nonprofit nursing homes, and we also have family-run nursing homes that are still trying to survive. And I understand they need to do this. The reason why these corporate entities come in, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues here in the House this afternoon about this. The reason why they do that is because they've got somebody at corporate headquarters that can lay down and track out across all their homes, how many people on what floor based on how many patients and everything else that comes along with this, and they game the system. Those are the corporate guys. So when we do this, you know what? They're going to get by. They're still going to get theirs. They're still going to get theirs because they've got the money to pay for it. You know what? If we just were going to turn the screws to them, that's cool. You know what? I don't like the Raiders. I don't like the corporate Raiders because that's not free market where I come from. What I'm trying to talk about is the mom and pop, family-run nursing homes and the not-for-profits that are going to suffer because of this. And the reason why we've seen an increase in corporate-run homes is, again, because the mom and pops can't afford the accountants, the lawyer. Well, I don't want to degrade lawyers, but everybody else that comes along with the need to be able to game the system to make money based off of the way that we've regulated this industry for the past couple of years without funding it. And what this is going to do, it's not going to decrease the corporate exposure in this state. You're going to see an increase. You're going to see more corporations, more hedge funds, or whatever you want to call them, coming in here, and they're going to buy more homes because the mom and pops are going to have to sell out. You know, and at some point, these not-for-profits, when they can't afford to take care of patients anymore, those patients are going to go somewhere else, and guess who's going to pick up the slack? The very people that we should be demonizing, the very people that are going in and using our seniors to make money, which is not something I want to see happen. But unfortunately, there are two other types of entities that we have to deal with: the mom and pops and the not-for-profits. And all we're going to do is increase the third, which we all agree. We don't want them doing what they're doing in our state. But all we're going to do is drive them and increase their exposure. They're just going to come here. They're going to start buying up homes across the state. So again, I'm going to have to oppose this because we're not going to accomplish the goals we're looking to accomplish. We're going to increase the corporate exposure because they're going to know how to make the money. And we're going to put mom and pop out of business, and all these not-for-profits that do great work, they're not going to be able to afford to do it anymore. And again, all will be left is with the corporate raiders we're all sitting here trying to do away with. So with that, I oppose this legislation still, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Fenton Fung. I'm not going to say last light because when I say that, more lights pop up. But
I'll be really quick. I appreciate everything that Rep. Slater said. I know what you're talking about, and I know you're from Providence. And I know there are some nursing homes in Providence that don't look the same and don't give the same amount of love and care because they just don't have the staff. I know what you're talking about. I can almost name the nursing homes off the top of my head, okay? It's a little different in certain parts of the state. I'll agree with you on this, okay? And I actually am going to support this legislation. But here's my thing, and I say this to every single person in this room: fund it. At the end of the day, that is the only responsible thing we can do about this bill, is to fund it today, fund it next year. Because these guys, when we're talking about corporate entities coming in and trust fund, everybody coming in and taking off the mom and pops, it's because they cannot survive with the cost of medications going up, that these people will be on long term. They cannot survive when they're talking about increasing the number of staffing and how much they must pay. At the end of the day, the most responsible thing we can do in this room is to fund this bill. So I appreciate all your concern. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other lights. But before we vote, I just want to say a few words, which is, I guess, a little uncustomary that the Speaker speaks on a bill from the rostrum. So I'm not going to talk about the bill and the merits, but I really want to recognize this was not an easy bill to get to this point where we could get to a point of a House floor vote. But when I became Speaker, this bill was one of the most important issues that a lot of members spoke about. And I convened a working group to help me. And I want to recognize them. And I want to recognize Representative Gregor Morey, Deputy Speaker Lima, Representative Jason Knight, Representative Scott Slater, Representative June Speakman, who worked very hard and held meetings with both sides of this bill to bring people together. Is this a perfect bill? Absolutely not. Very little of what we do I would ever consider perfect, but it's a very good bill. And I want to say thank you all for your patience, your diligence, no matter what side of the issue you're on. This is an important issue that we address. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. All those in the negative, please vote red. Lita Blazajewski for proxies, please. And then I will go to Whip Chippendale for proxies also.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 1 from the following representatives: Ackerman, Diaz, Lombardi, Marzukowski, McLaughlin, Norrie, and Ranglin Vassal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Whip Chippendale, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47B, I wish to tender the following proxy votes. Representative Roberts, nay. Representative Leader Filippi, nay. Representative Price, aye.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 64 in the affirmative, 9 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Thank you. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Number 2, number 5376, Sade.
Chairman Craven.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill comes to us from Representative Donovan. It's an act related to health and safety. It actually prohibits the intentional simultaneous release of 10 or more balloons inflated with lighter than air gas. The prohibition would not apply to number 1, a balloon release for scientific or meteorological reasons or on behalf of a governmental agency or pursuant to a governmental contract. 2, a hot air balloon that is recovered after launching. Or 3, a balloon that is released and remains indoors. A person or entity who violates the provisions would be subject to a civil penalty of $100 for the first offense and $250 for the second offense. It's a bill that Representative Donovan has worked on for several years now. I think some of us, I'll speak for myself. I thought it was amusing at first when it was before the Judiciary Committee, but some of the testimony we heard of what happens in the ocean in particular, as far as this stuff when it collects out there and how it kills fish and severely interferes with fishing nets and the fishing industry. So I say it's more than a good bill, it's a great bill, and I move passage.
Thank you. Chairman Craven moves passage, second by Representative Caldwell, Representative Carson, Representative Speakman, Representative Donovan, Chairman Abney, Lita Blazajewski, Chairwoman McEntee, Chairwoman Ruggiero, Representative Batista, Chairman Bennett, Representative Kazar, Representative Cortravan, Representative Knight, Representative Handy, Chairwoman Fogarty, Representative Agello, Representative Shawcross Smith, Chairman Hull, Chairman McNamara, Representative Felix, Whip Kazarian, Representative McGaugh, and Representative Messier, as well as Representative Bia. There are no other seconds on the bill. Whip Chippendale.
Thank you, Speaker. I felt compelled to comment on this bill in preparation for my vote because I will be voting to support it. And within certain circles, I've received some pushback on that, but I want to qualify my vote by stating this. First off, as an environmentalist and a conservationist, I loathe litter and people who litter. They're the lowest of the low, and I don't see releasing balloons as anything different than flicking an ash or a cigarette butt out your window or a Dunkin' Donuts cup. It's equally offensive to me, but more so as someone who enjoys the abundant and beautiful nature of the state of Rhode Island as a hunter and fisherman. I encounter balloons in every aspect of those activities, whether I'm inland or whether I am on the bay, on the shores. There's no denying that this is pervasive. I can almost to the poll number, tell you where you'll see Mylar balloons hanging from trees in Foster. It's unsightly, it's unhealthy, it's obviously very detrimental to the ecology of our state, and it's destroying certain fisheries, and waterfowl are constantly being tangled up or regrettably ingesting and then dying, frankly, because it's not a digestible material. So with that qualification and explanation, I do support this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Whip. Representative Agello? No. Representative Carson?
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today in support of this bill, and I want to thank Representative Donovan for her relentless campaign to pass this bill. And what I wanted to say was that yesterday on the House of Representatives Facebook page, there was criticism of this bill, and there was criticism of Representative Donovan for wanting to support and write legislation that required a $100 fine for reducing balloons, and how ridiculous that was the comment. And I responded by saying that plastic is a really big problem. And unfortunately, we have to propose bill after bill after bill to get rid of plastic. Balloons, bottles, bags, it's all plastic. It goes nowhere. It outlives us. It'll be around forever. This is a first step toward perhaps eliminating some plastic in the state of Rhode Island.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you everybody who has spoken in support of this bill. There's one more issue that we didn't mention, and that's utility companies are in favor of passing these kinds of bills. Every year, thousands of people go without electricity because Mylar balloons that conduct electricity get tangled in power lines and they blow the transformers. So they are also a nuisance to our electrical grid. So I want to thank everybody again who has supported this bill. It's a long time coming.
Thank you, Representative. There are no other lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I proxy votes in favor of item number 2 from the following representatives: Ackerman, Diaz, Lombardi, Marzukowski, McLaughlin, Naray, and Ranglin Vassal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Whip Chippendale, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Pursuant to House Rule 47B, I wish to tender the following proxy votes. For Representative Roberts, aye. For Representative Price, aye. And for Leader Filippi, aye.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 69 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Item number 3, number 6233.
Chairman Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. House Bill 6233 by Representative Morgan, who would vacate the forfeiture of revocation of the charter of Riverbend Condominium Homeowners Association Incorporated. It's a good bill. I move passage.
Chairman Solomon moves passage. Seconded by Leader Blazajewski, Representative Phillips, Floor Manager Edwards, and Whip Chippendale, as well as Chairman Abney. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I proxy votes in favor of item number 3 from the following representatives: Ackerman, Diaz, Lombardi, Marzukowski, McLaughlin, and Naray. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. Whip.
Thank you, Speaker. Pursuant to House Rule 47B, I wish to tender the following proxy votes. For Representative Roberts, aye. For Representative Price, aye. And for Leader Filippi, aye.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 670 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Item number 4, Senate 811.
Chairman Solomon.
Thank you, Speaker. Senate Bill 811 by Senator Coyne would vacate the forfeiture or revocation of the charter of Mothers Mourning Out LLC. It's a good bill, and I move passage.
Chairman Solomon moves passage, seconded by Chairman Casey and Leader Blazajewski, Floor Manager Edwards. There are no other lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 4 from the following representatives: Ackerman, Diaz, Lombardi, Marzakowski, McLaughlin, and Naray. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. Whip Chippendale.
Thank you, Speaker. Pursuant to House Rule 47B, I wish to tender the following proxy votes: for Representative Price, aye; for Representative Roberts, aye; and for Leader Filippi, aye.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 67 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next item, please, Clerk.
Item number 5, Senate 816.
Chairman Solomon.
Thank you, Speaker. Senate 816 by Senator Saveni would vacate the forfeiture or revocation of the charter of Fragile LLC. I move passage.
Chairman Solomon moves passage, seconded by Leader Blazajewski, Chairman Abney, Whip Kazarian, Representative McGaugh, and Chairman Casey, and Representative Cortravan. There are no lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 5 from the following representatives: Ackerman, Diaz, Lombardi, Marzakowski, McLaughlin, and Naray. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Whip Chippendale, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Fragile, must be French. Pursuant to 47B, I wish to tender the following proxy votes: for Representative Price, aye; for Representative Roberts, aye; and for Leader Filippi, aye.
Thank you very much. Clerk, please lock the machine. 69 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The act shall prevail. That concludes today's calendar. We're on to announcements and introductions. Are there any announcements and introductions? Chairman Solomon.
Thank you, Speaker. Announcement.
Proceed.
The House Committee on Corporations will be meeting at the Rise in the House Lounge. We will be voting on some name changes today.
Thank you. Representative Speakman, and then Representative Tanzi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to be recognized in the affirmative.
I'm sorry, just a moment, please. Proceed, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Because of technical difficulties, I missed the vote on my colleague Rep. Donovan's bill, so I want to be recognized in a strong affirmative on item number 2. Thank you.
So ordered. Thank you. Representative Tanzi, and then we'll go to Chairman Abney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant with Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I will be introducing a resolution regarding a behavioral health surge plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Chairman Abney, and then Representative Casimiro.
Announcement, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
The House Committee on Finance will meet at the Rise in room 35.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Casimiro, and then Chairwoman Ruggiero.
Thank you, Speaker. With the consent of the House Minority and Majority Leader, I have a House resolution commemorating May of 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month and May 20th of 2021 as Mental Health Action Day in the state of Rhode Island. I'd like to leave this on the desk for more signatures.
Thank you. Please send it up. Chairwoman Ruggiero, and then Representative Place. Excuse me, everybody, please. I know everyone wants to converse, and because of the pandemic, we don't get to interact a lot, but we are still in formal session, and your colleagues have important announcements. So if you're going to have a conversation, please go out into the lobby. Thank you. Please proceed, Chairwoman Ruggiero.
Request for adjournment, please.
Proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise today with a very heavy heart because of the passing of a friend, a colleague, and the founder of the Women's Fund of Rhode Island. We lost Simone Joyaux on Sunday. I'm honored to have been a founding board member when Simone started the Women's Fund of Rhode Island in 2000. She had the vision to start a gender equity fund by investing in women and girls through advocacy, research, and strategic partnerships designed to advance gender equity through systemic change. What is systemic change? My God, she taught me and so many about systemic change with her parable about the babies in the river. One day, a woman is walking along a river and suddenly she sees babies in the river drowning. She jumps in the water and rescues as many babies as possible. And soon, while she's doing that, another woman walks along the path and simply walks by. And the woman screaming at her, "Help me. Don't just walk by, do something." And the woman looks at her and says, "I'm going to the top of the river to see who's dropping these babies in the river to drown, and that's what I am going to stop." That's systemic change. And that was Simone Joyaux. Rest in power, Simone. Mr. Speaker, Simone changed so many lives. She leaves a loving husband, Tom Ahern, 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and a legacy that will live on forever. I ask that we read this resolution of her life at the Rise and also leave it on the desk for signatures. And ladies and gentlemen of the House, thank you for listening and indulging me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We lost a good one.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. Please send it up. We will adjourn her memory. Representative Place and then Chairwoman McEntee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 3 requests, please.
Proceed on all 3.
If I could be marked in the affirmative on my First Amendment 599/2, I would appreciate that, please.
So ordered.
Thank you. I would also request an adjournment, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
I would like to request an adjournment in the honor of Norman Chuck Mainville. He was a 14-year Burrillville Town Councilman. He served 20 years on the various Burrillville fire districts and fire committees and as a firefighter himself. And was an Eagle Scout, a Boy Scout master himself, an all-around pillar to the community. If you come up to Burrillville, everybody knows the Mainville name from his father, Trigger, right down to his son, Chip, who's currently serving on the Harrisville Fire District. Harrisville lost one of its solid citizens over the last 2 weeks. So again, I request that we do adjourn in his memory. I also have a resolution with the approval of both majority and the minority leader that may be read at the Rise.
Thank you. Please send it up. Our condolences to his family. Thank you. Chairwoman McEntee and then Floor Manager Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request, please.
Proceed.
May I be marked in the affirmative on items number 3 and 4?
So ordered.
And I also have a resolution for an adjournment.
Please send it up.
If I may say a few words.
Sure.
The House expresses condolences on the passing of Flynn Sullivan. He passed away on April 20th, 2021, surrounded by his family. Flynn graduated from Narragansett High School in 2019, where he played tennis and ran cross country and track. He was a member of the National Honor Society, Future Farmers of America, and the Narragansett Surfcasters. Flynn held the honorable record for the most visits to Brickley's Ice Cream. He touched countless people during his 20 years. He was known as an old soul who formed bonds with people of all ages. He leaves a legacy of kindness, generosity, and thoughtfulness. His life was a beautiful gift to his family, and we cherish every moment we've had with him. He was diagnosed with synovial sarcoma just after graduating from high school 2 years ago. He was a profile in courage while dealing with his cancer. Flynn lived an exceptional life and taught us all lessons of perseverance, selflessness, and love. My condolences to his parents, James and Elizabeth Sullivan, and to his siblings, grandparents, and others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Floor Manager Edwards, and then Representative Agello.
Mr. Speaker, due to a technical glitch, I was unable to vote in the affirmative on item number 2. I'd like to have my vote so counted.
So ordered. Representative Agello, and then Representative Morales.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Due to a similar technical itch, I was unable to mark myself present at the beginning of the session today. I'd like my presence to be recognized.
So ordered. Thank you. Representative Morales, and then Representative O'Brien.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance to Rule 7D, I will be introducing a bill on the next legislative day related to labor relations.
Thank you very much, Representative. Representative O'Brien, and then Chairwoman Fogarty.
Thank you, Speaker. Announcement.
Proceed.
Under Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be introducing legislation related to education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Chairwoman Fogarty, and then Representative Bia.
Speaker, also under 7D, I am going to be introducing two bills, one on business and professions regarding electricians, another relating to business and professions pharmacies, and also if I can send my condolences to Jimmy and Betsy Sullivan on the passing of their son Flynn, a great young man and very sad for Narragansett. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our condolences to his family as well. Representative Bia, and then Representative Messier.
Mr. Speaker, can you mark my person in attendance, please?
So ordered.
And with the permission of the majority and minority leader, I have a resolution for congratulation that I proudly like to introduce honoring my godson, Quiddy Page, from Bishop Hendricken High School, who was selected by the Indianapolis Colts with the 21st pick, first round of NFL draft. Mr. Speaker, this young man is a very hardworking young man with determination, and also with his mother. I first just gave his mother thanks because she used to drop them during daycare and drive herself to Central High School. She would drop her two boys and go to Central High School. And my wife also had Quiddy in 6th grade at Hopkins Middle School as a social studies teacher. Again, Mr. Speaker, the last first-round draft pick from Rhode Island was 1938. Now, Rhode Island has a first-round draft pick again, which is a Liberian-American, Mr. Quiddy Page from Bishop Hendricken High School. And once he's returned to Rhode Island, Mr. Speaker, I promise that he will be on the House floor with us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations to him and his family. I know a little bit about the story through the media reports. It's an inspiring story. The only regret I have is he won't be wearing a Patriot uniform next year. But like I said, that's just next year. We don't know what the future holds. So thank you. Representative Messier, and then Chairman Azanaro.
Affirmative on item 2, please.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Chairman Azanaro, and then Representative Falella.
Thank you, Speaker. Request for adjournment, please.
Proceed.
This morning, we buried a 99-year-old beautiful woman who was godmother to my wife's sisters, and my wife's brothers. Rita Millamaki will be greatly missed by the town of Westerly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Representative Falella, and then Chairman Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be submitting legislation pursuant to teachers' retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman Bennett, and then Representative Fenton Fong.
Thank you, Speaker. With the permission of the minority and majority leader, I have a resolution proclaiming May 2021 Motorcycle Awareness Month in the state of Rhode Island and urging all motorists to avoid distracted driving. There's over 24,000 motorcycles that will be coming out in the next couple weeks. As the weather gets nice, you're going to see more and more. So if you can look twice, save a life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Representative Fenton Fung, and then Representative Batista.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be introducing legislation on mail ballots. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Representative Batista, and then Representative Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a resolution here recognizing May 4th as World Asthma Day, recognizing 23 years of the first World Asthma Meeting, creating awareness for folks who suffer of asthma as well as the family and supporters thereof. And I'd like to thank everybody who supported this, and I'd be available for anybody else who'd like to sign.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Slater, and then Representative Henrys.
Announcement, Speaker.
Proceed.
According to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be submitting legislation to do with tourism.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Henrys.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I will be introducing a bill regarding taxation.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Representative Cortravan, your light's not lit, but I see you by the mic, so please
I
proceed.
thought I lit it before I stood up.
That's okay.
But
Proceed.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant
Just a
to
minute.
rules.
Just a minute. Thank you.
Pursuant to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be introducing legislation regarding transportation emissions and the Mobile Community Act. It's all one bill.
That's quite a bill. Thank you very much. Chairwoman Fogarty, and then Chairman Craven.
Speaker, like I texted you yesterday, I just wanted to wish happy birthday to the state of Rhode Island. For its 245 years ago today, Rhode Island declared its independence from the United Kingdom, for Great Britain, I should say. So happy birthday to Rhode Island, 245 years.
Thank you. Chairman Craven.
Mr. Speaker, can we go back to new business?
Certainly. Chairman
business?
Craven with new business. Any other new business? No, you have to wait till the next legislative day. Oh, then you can send it right up. Absolutely. Chairman Casey with new business as well. You can, Chairman Casey, you can put that right in the box if you want. Thank you. I have a House resolution congratulating, we can go to announcements. Leader Blazajewski, go ahead before I start reading the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one brief announcement. We'll be meeting here on Thursday at the Vets at 4 p.m. for our next session. That's Thursday this week at the Vets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. I have a House resolution congratulating Bishop Hendricken, graduate Kwity Paye, on being selected by the Indianapolis Colts in the first round of the NFL Draft. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have a House resolution expressing deepest condolences in the passing of Flynn Sullivan by Carol Hagan McEntee and several others. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I have a House resolution extending the deepest condolences on the passing of Simone Patrick Joya Asafi, if I'm saying, by Chairwoman Ruggiero and several others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have a House resolution commemorating May 21st as Mental Health Awareness Month and May 20th as the 2001 Mental Health Action Day in the state of Rhode Island by Representative Casimiro and seconded by several others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have a House resolution expressing condolences on the passing of Norman Manville by Representative Place, seconded by Representative Filippi and Representative Hull. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I have a resolution commemorating May 4th as World Asthma Day in the state of Rhode Island by Representative Batista, seconded by myself and several others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And finally, for the day, I have a House resolution proclaiming May 2021 to be Motorcycle Awareness Month in the state of Rhode Island and urging all motorists to avoid distracted driving. Moved by Chairman Bennett, seconded by several others. All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Representative Tabone.
Speaker, if you could please mark me in the affirmative on the first two items, and per Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I'll be introducing legislation related to education, the College Crusade Scholarship. Thank you.
So ordered. Thank you. Is there any objection to transmitting all matters on the clerk's desk to the governor, the Honorable Senate, or the Secretary of State forthwith? Hearing none, so ordered. Leader Blazajewski moves that the House adjourned, seconded by Whip Filippi, in the memory of Simone Patrice Joyek, Norman Manville, and Flynn Sullivan. All those, please rise for a moment of silence. The House is adjourned. The desk shall remain open. Is this the order you want? Is this the order?
You can start there. Do 3 of them if you can.
Okay.
Take off, and he'll help. He'll give you another direction.
House resolution expressing condolences on the passing of Norman C. Mainville. Whereas it is with deepest sympathy that this House has learned of the passing of Norman C. Mainville, the beloved husband of Barbara Mainville, devoted father of Captain Norman Mainville, and a highly respected former Burrillville Town Councilman for 14 years. And whereas Mr. Mainville was the son of the late Norman Trigger and Mary Mainville, and the brother of Christine Conoyer and husband Wayne, Thomas Mainville, and John Mainville and wife Catherine. He served our country with honor in the United States Marine Corps, achieving the rank of corporal. And whereas, upon attaining his bachelor's degree in business management from Johnson & Wales College, Mr. Mainville continued his education, earning his master's degree in public administration from Framingham State College, and was a certified government financial manager. In his youth, he had earned the distinction of becoming an Eagle Scout and later continued his association with the Boy Scouts as a Scoutmaster and has held various positions with the Nasonville and Harrisville Scouts. And whereas, in addition to his 14 years on the Burrillville Town Council, Mr. Mainville had also served on the town school committee for 4 years and was the former vice president and treasurer of the Rhode Island Association of School Committees. He was active on numerous subcommittees and as a liaison to boards and commissions, including the Board of Administration, Zoning Board of Review, and the Planning Board, to name just a few. And whereas, professionally, Mr. Mainville was a member of the Association of Government Accountants, the International Public Management Association, the Northern Rhode Island Liaison for Employer Guard and Reserves, and the president of the New England Credit Grantors Association. He had also served as co-chairman, project renovation, and Millennium Fund drives, and had lent his expertise to numerous additional altruistic grant proposals. And whereas, devoted to public service and his community, Mr. Mainville had served over 50 years with the Nasonville and Harrisville Fire Departments and 2 years with the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue Station 8, Sundance. He was a retired safety officer, rescue and line officer, former treasurer, and the longest-serving district moderator for the Harrisville Hose Company No. 1. He was also the past president of the Rhode Island EMT Association, a certified instructor for the National Fire Academy, Rhode Island Fire Academy, Emergency Medical Services, and CPR Heart Association, a certified emergency medical technician, and a nationally certified incident safety officer. And whereas most recently, Mr. Mainville had been employed at the Eleanor Slater Hospital as a compliance consultant until his retirement in 2014. He had also been very active in various Little League associations, including volunteering as manager of the Burrillville Gloucester Little League farm system, founder of the Burrillville Little League, and manager and coach of 3 Burrillville Little League teams. And whereas Norman Mainville epitomized a dedicated family man and public servant, and his life's accomplishments enriched the lives of all who knew him and set a standard for excellence that is an inspiration to us all. He will be deeply missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the State of Rhode Island hereby expresses deepest sympathy on the passing of Norman C. Mainville, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Mrs. Barbara Mainville and family. House Resolution commemorating May 4, 2021 as World Asthma Day in the state of Rhode Island. Whereas asthma is a long-term inflammatory disease in which the airways of the lungs constrict, causing wheezing, breathlessness, chest tightness, and coughing. And whereas approximately 25 million Americans have asthma, approximately 8% of adults have asthma and 7% of children have asthma, which is the leading chronic disease in children. And whereas African American children are 3 times more likely to have asthma than white children, and African Americans are 3 times more likely to die from asthma than white Americans. And whereas in 2016, asthma accounted for 9.8 million doctor office visits, and in 2018, asthma accounted for 178,530 discharges from hospital inpatient care and 1.6 million emergency department visits. And whereas from 2008 to 2013, the annual economic cost of asthma was $81.9 billion, including medical costs and loss of work and school days. Among children aged 5 to 17, asthma is one of the top causes of missed school days. And whereas worldwide, it was estimated in 2016 that 339 million people have asthma and 417,918 deaths occurred due to asthma. And whereas World Asthma Day was established in 1988, it is organized by the GINA, the Global Initiative for Asthma, which works with healthcare groups across the globe to help raise awareness of asthma. Today, World Asthma Day is widely considered to be the world's most important asthma awareness event. And whereas the 2021 World Asthma Day theme is Uncovering Asthma Misconceptions. The goal is to expose the commonly held but dangerous falsehoods surrounding asthma, such as the belief that asthma is infectious, that asthma sufferers should not exercise, that asthma can only be controlled with high-dose steroids, or that asthma is a childhood disease, one that individuals will grow out of at any age. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the State of Rhode Island hereby commemorates May 4, 2021 as World Asthma Day. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Louis-Philippe Boulay, medical doctor, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Global Initiative for Asthma.
We'll do this one here now.
Okay. Yep. House Resolution commemorating May of 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month, and May 20th of 2021 as Mental Health Action Day in the state of Rhode Island. Whereas since 1949, Mental Health America, joined by organizations from across the country, have led the observance of May as Mental Health Month with the mission of raising awareness and educating the public about mental health illnesses. This year marks its 72nd anniversary. And whereas Mental Health Awareness Month strives to reduce the stigma, the negative attitudes and misconceptions that surround mental health illnesses, and whereas one of the main reasons why individuals do not seek professional help is due to the stigma that surrounds mental health, Individuals are afraid to seek the help and treatment they need because they may be judged, ridiculed, and shunned by others, or they may even judge themselves as a result. They often live in silence about their undiagnosed mental health disorder. And whereas each year millions of Americans face the reality of living with a mental health condition, anyone can experience the challenges of mental illness regardless of their background, age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, and economic status. And whereas, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, 19.1% of adults living in the United States have experienced an anxiety disorder in the past year, and nearly 1 in 25 adults in America are living with a serious mental illness. And whereas suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the United States, and according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, data and statistics, 12 million adults aged 18 or older thought about trying to kill themselves in 2019. And whereas each year, millions of Americans face the reality of living with a mental health condition, Mental Health Awareness Month is a time to bring about change through compassion, concern, open-mindedness, and understanding, and to celebrate the journeys of resiliency and recovery of individuals living with mental illness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the State of Rhode Island hereby commemorates May of 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month and May 20th of 2021 as Mental Health Action Day, and urges schools, businesses, government agencies, and healthcare providers to commit to promoting and ensuring innovative prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, and to spreading awareness through education programs and understanding for mental health issues. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit duly certified copies of this resolution to the Rhode Island Department of Behavioral Health Care, Departmental Disabilities and Hospitals, and the Mental Health Association of Rhode Island.
Thank you, Lou. We'll take over from here. Yeah. Mike's
Oh,
here.
Mike's gonna be here,
here.
okay.
House Resolution extending deepest condolences on the passing of Simone Patricia Joyaux, ACFRE. Whereas, it is with sadness this House has learned of the passing of Simone P. Joyaux, the beloved wife of Thomas Ahern, and an international fundraiser extraordinaire and social justice activist. And whereas, born in Michigan, Mrs. Joyaux was the daughter of the late Jane Peckham Joyaux and Georges Jules Joyaux, and the sister of Alain, Nicole, Philippe, Paul, and André. She was greatly influenced by her father, who was French and had immigrated to the United States as an adult after World War II. She and her husband maintained a home in France. At the age of 9, she had decided to teach French and English in middle school, and in pursuit of her goal, received a Master of Arts degree in 20th century French and American comparative literature from Michigan State University. And whereas changing her teaching focus, Ms. Joyaux continued her education and received additional qualifications, including Certified Fundraising Executive, the CFRE, credential from the Association of Fundraising Professionals in 1984, the Advanced Certified Fundraising Executive, the ACFRE, the ACFRE, in 1994, an International Advanced Diploma in Fundraising in 2013, and a Certificate in Philanthropic Psychology. And whereas Ms. Joyaux began her career in the nonprofit sector in 1975, serving as executive director of an arts center and arts council in Lansing, Michigan. From 1991 to 1988, she was Chief Development Officer for Trinity Repertory Company in Rhode Island, and in 1988 launched her full-time consultancy, Joyaux Associates. In addition, she founded 2 organizations as a volunteer. From 1999 to 2001, she was chair of the CFRE International, and in 2000, founded the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, a social justice organization. And whereas known around the world for her fundraising and philanthropic endeavors and social justice advocacy, Ms. Joyaux had chaired the advisory board of the Center for Sustainable Philanthropy at Plymouth University, was honored in 2019 as an AFP Distinguished Fellow, and had authored 3 books and contributed to several others that are considered to be timeless guides in the field. And whereas Simone Joyaux is a mentor, teacher, volunteer, leader, and friend, whose gifts of time, wisdom, and expertise had a positive influence and changed the nonprofit sector and the lives of generations of people. And she will be dearly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved, this House of Representatives of the state of Rhode Island hereby extends its deepest sympathies on the loss of Simone P. Joyaux. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Thomas Ahern and family. House resolution expressing deepest condolences on the passing of Flynn Sullivan. Whereas Flynn Sullivan, a 2019 graduate of Narragansett High School, made an enormously positive impact in the life of his loved ones and the wider community in all his short 20 years of life. He leaves behind a legacy of kindness, generosity, and thoughtfulness that was a joy to be around. And whereas Flynn was a talented young man with full of promise, he excelled at tennis, cross country, and track and field in high school, was a member of the National Honor Society, Future Farmers of America, and the Narragansett Surfcasters. He continued his education, taking classes at Harvard Extension School and the University of Rhode Island, whilst in the midst of bravely fighting cancer. And whereas Flynn, like most young men, had a wide array of interests and hobbies, he enjoyed fishing, skiing, and hiking in the White Mountains, as well as traveling, playing golf, photography, and attending Broadway shows. He especially delighted in the annual week he spent on Fry Island on Sebago Lake with his extended family. He was also a food connoisseur who had an incredible ability to recall almost all types of food and dining experiences. He also might probably have held the record for most visits to Brickley's Ice Cream. And whereas Flynn was a beloved figure in the community, he had an amazing ability to form friendships with people of all ages and walks of life. Perhaps his 8th grade teacher summed up the virtuousness of his life when she wrote to him and said, "You have a way about you, thinking of others first and able to notice if someone could use a hand," and described him as a quality human being with the kind of spirit to go with it. And whereas Flynn Sullivan leaves behind his parents, James and Elizabeth Sullivan, his siblings, Mary Kate Sullivan and her fiancé, Ryan Elliott, and Ailey Flynn Sullivan. She also leaves behind his grandmother, Mary Degnan Flynn, and his aunts and uncles, Joanne Luando, Bernie and Ann Flynn, John and Chrissy Flynn, Jim and Stacy Flynn, and Bob and Michelle Flynn. He was predeceased by his grandparents, Leo and Barbara Sullivan, and Jack Flynn. And whereas, to paraphrase Flynn Sullivan's family, he was a beautiful gift, and they cherished every moment they had with him. His indomitable spirit and the boundless love he gave to his loved ones and friends will be long remembered by all who knew him. Now, therefore, be it resolved, this House of Representatives of the state of Rhode Island hereby expresses its deepest condolences on the passing of Flynn Sullivan. And be it further resolved, Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to James and Elizabeth Sullivan and family. House resolution congratulating Bishop Hendricken graduate Quiddy Pay on being selected by the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to have a Hendricken graduate read this one.
Where did you leave off?
Just start off. It's right on top.
Or whereas few rags to riches stories are as inspirational and heartwarming as the tale of Quiddy Pay, a young man born in a refugee camp in Guinea to Liberian parents who were escaping war-torn Liberia in the First Liberian Civil War. Whereas Quiddy Pay was brought to Rhode Island with his brother Kamadi Coffey by his mother Agnes. As they grew older, his mother signed him up for football at the boys' club, and it became a life passion for them both. After middle school, Quiddy was accepted into Bishop Hendricken, but the cost seemed beyond the family's means. However, he convinced his mother that attending Bishop Hendricken was worth the burden by promising her that she would not have to pay for him to go to college.
Whereas his mother, Agnes, worked long and arduous hours, sometimes putting in nearly 24-hour days to pay for his tuition. And Quinny worked tirelessly both in the classroom and on the field to ensure that his mother's sacrifice was a worthwhile endeavor. As a defensive lineman and a running back in high school, he was virtually unstoppable, bringing to the gridiron a combination of size and speed rarely if ever seen in Rhode Island. In recognition of his success on the field, Quiddy was named the Rhode Island Gatorade Player of the Year in 2016. Mr. Pay quickly drew the attention of leading college football universities in the country and chose to play for the storied University of Michigan football program. While at Michigan, he started 4 games at defensive end, and as a sophomore became the full-time starter at that position as a junior. Pay was dominant in Big Ten competition as a junior, finishing the season with 50 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and earning second-team All-Conference Big Ten honors. He repeated as a second-term All-Conference Big Ten Conference selection in the COVID-19 shortened 2020 season. Whereas Mr. Pay's work ethic is legendary within Rhode Island football circles, whether it was practicing on the field, working out in the weight room, or giving his all in every play in a game despite the bruises and pain that come routinely in football. No one has ever outworked Quinny Pay. Mr. Pay is also a young man of impeccable character, always willing to help out and make a positive difference with the next generation. Coach Willie Edwards, the former Moses Brown football coach and current assistant coach at Brown University, first met Quiddy at youth football camp volunteering to work with the elementary age kids. Coach Edwards was amazed to observe the effort and selflessness exhibited by Mr. Pay on that day. From interacting with the kids and teaching them the basics of football, to picking up the pylons and cleaning up the field, to making sure the job was done properly, Mr. Pay's humility, compassion, and tireless work ethic impressed everyone. Whereas the NFL draft is not about talent, anyone taken in the draft, especially the first round, has talent. What really makes a young man special in the eyes of many NFL scouts and front office personnel is someone who can combine a high level of God-given talent with an extraordinary work ethic and be a quality person all at the same time. Rhode Island raised Quiddy Pay is exactly this kind of person, and that is why he became the only second Rhode Island high school football player to be chosen in the first round of the NFL draft when he was selected by the 21st pick in the 2021 draft by the Indianapolis Colts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the state of Rhode Island hereby congratulates Quiddy Pay on being selected in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft and wishes him continued success both on and off the gridiron in the future. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby authorized directed to transmit a copy of this resolution to Mr. Quiddy Pay. You want me to take it?
And you're going to be proud. I got it. Okay. House Resolution proclaiming May of 2021 to be Motorcycle Awareness Month in the state of Rhode Island and urging all motorists to avoid distracted driving. Whereas approximately 8.3 million motorcycles are registered in the United States, and there are approximately 24,175 motorcycles registered in Rhode Island. Motorcycle riding is a popular form of transportation enjoyed by almost 12% of the American people. And whereas motorcycles provide a more efficient mode of transportation than cars or trucks. Motorcycles use up fewer resources, cause less wear and tear on our roads and highways, and increase available parking spaces. And whereas, unfortunately, distracted driving poses grave dangers to other motorists, especially motorcyclists. Distractions can be any activity that takes a driver's focus off the task of driving, including eating and drinking, talking, or texting on the phone. Numerous other distractions, all of which pose serious dangers to the motorcycle driving public. In 2018, more than 2,800 lives were lost due to incidents involving distracted driving, and 400,000 people were injured in crashes that involved distracted driving. Now, therefore, be it resolved, this House of Representatives of the state of Rhode Island hereby proclaims May of 2021 to be Motorcycle Awareness Month in the state of Rhode Island. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Mr. Paul Bond, President of the Rhode Island Motorcycle Association.